Have you ever played with randoms that just make you question the fabric of time and space itself, bring doubts to the reality in which you live, forcing you to ask yourself if that Nightreign session was a nightmare or not? Because I know I have, and I made damn sure to encourage good team behaviors, not just for those who I play the game with, but for myself too. So let's talk a bit about both jolly cooperation and the not so jolly side of it. Ensuring we're staying on the jolly side, preferably. Alright, first things first is looking out for more than just yourself. You gotta learn that nice balance between selfless and selfish. If you aren't talking in a voice chat, the best way to do that is by going into the menu and picking to see what your allies have. For example, if you already got a negation of full HP, but your Iron Eye doesn't, hook him up with one because he's probably going to need it. On the flip side, if you got a raider who has negation of full HP, taking damage boost negation, charge attack negation, and successive attacks negate damage all shoved up his ass, then tell him to share if you and your other ally are starving. Be selfish in that instance. Love you raider players, by the way. My point is, this shouldn't be a every player for themselves scenario. Nightreign is a co-op game after all, and we should, cooperate. Which is more than merely reviving an ally and assisting them in battle. That isn't really being a good teammate. It's doing the bare minimum of what is expected from you. In short, try to make sure each party member is doing at least decently on weapon passives, especially negations, even if you have to risk yourself a little bit. The stronger the group is as a whole, the better, and understand that sometimes a passive you like might be better suited to a different character, such as Iron Eye with damage negation on charge attacks. He can proc that passive from a distance, or a Duchess with successive attacks negate damage, who she can proc it super easily against every boss in the game with her dagger heavy attacks. There is no character that procs it faster and safer than she does by default. Now, obviously, each of these negations are great for the majority of the cast, but if you see an ally struggling, then be mindful. Kindness can go a long way, and if possible, definitely try to make sure everyone has negation of full HP, because that is universally and widely agreed upon to be the best passive, largely. Great. So we're being mindful of the passives folks either have or don't have. But that won't do you any good if you aren't sticking with the group. Stay with the group. Even if you disagree where your two other allies are heading, apes together stronger, right? That's the simple rule that Nightreign follows. You really shouldn't be branching off from the party on your own unless it's for something quick and you're really confident about doing that task alone. Here, let me give you an example. I run a starter weapon build, so naturally I'm going to want that Smithin' 2 from the mines, and I aim to get it as soon as possible. Perhaps my allies don't need it or they don't want one, but I do. So I'll ping the mines and go for it. If they follow me, then great. If not, then I treat it as a BRB type of thing. So once I get that rock, I'm booking it straight back to where the others are. Personally, I believe this is the limit of what branching off should be, as in the long term, it'll help ultimately the entire party because my core game plan is built around my starting weapon, and getting it stronger will help us snowball the further along the run we go. What you shouldn't do is run off on your own to either a fort or an encampment, because not only would we clear it faster if we're all together, apes together stronger, but if you get yourself downed or on the other side of castle, well, that's tough now, ain't it? Because I can't make it to you in time. Stay with the group, even if you don't agree with the current course of action. I know it can be frustrating to go on a route you probably feel is bad, but when you're outvoted, that's just how it goes sometimes. This dives into another thing, pins. Use pins correctly. If you see a teammate pin a location of interest like a fort or a boss, and you are in agreement of that choice, pin their spot too. This shows that you agree with their call. On the flip side, if you don't agree, try pinning another spot to communicate that information. If the first player remains insistent on their initial pin and pings their spot again, then go about it with your own assessment. On the same note, you can select their pin first and then pin the spot you want to go to afterwards. More times than not, your pin will get an agreement pin, which will help move things along more fluidly, as now you have an actionable route. Be sure to pin weapons and other findings too. If you find a good weapon passive for an ally, pin it. Don't just drop it and walk off. Let it be known that you found something of interest. Otherwise, your ally might miss it because of the go, 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 go in nature of Nightreign. Relic build checks. Something I always do upon starting a run is checking out what relics my allies are using so I have an understanding of their build. That way I know what I can expect from them. And I can also aid them in making said build stronger. Say I have a Revenant doing a fire build, having several attack pluses in her relic setup. If I find a Flame of Frenzy seal or a weapon with the fire attack up passive attached to it, I'll drop it for her and pin it. Mutually, if I see a Duchess with, say, a dormant power helps discover curved swords and I happen to find Wing of Estelle, then yeah, I'm dropping it for her. And, a likely case scenario, I see a player using the double balancer relics, I find skill attack power, guess what I'm doing? Yeah, I'm dropping the skill attack power for the player that is using double balancer builds. Seeing what builds your teammates are running is always valuable, and you literally have time to do this before you land from the opening Spectral Hawk at the very start of the run. There is no reason whatsoever for not checking other players' relic setups. You know what goes hand in hand with relic build checks? Seeing what exact type of build a specific Nightfarer is going for. If you see a Recluse or a Revenant, the dedicated casters absolutely see what type of casting build they're aiming for. For example, see a Recluse doing the classic Shattered Crystal build, then help her with a Rise if it's nearby. Give her Starlight Shards if you can afford to. Note how I'm saying if you can afford to, because it's imperative that you still do look out for yourself. Again, there must be a balance. Looking out for your allies is fantastic, but if you're prioritizing your allies so much more than over yourself, then you're making you the weak link of the party, because you don't know what kind of passives your allies may or may not find. Perhaps their RNG is truly terrible and they're not finding anything for you. Thus, they can't feed you back. So if you do see something good for your ally, but you're really struggling on passives and you're like, oh man, that's a damage negation on charge attacks, and I could really use that, then do it. Don't feel guilty about it, Because if you are lacking behind, then in the long run, you're going to be the weak link and thus make the team lag behind a bit. Decision making is such a core component of Nightreign, and sometimes guess what? You gotta make a choice that'll stick. What separates a good teammate and a bad teammate, in my opinion, is knowing when to be considerate of your allies and how. Is that a learning curve? Yeah, it is. And that's part of the fun. It's imperative to understand that context always matters. If you're playing as Guardian or Raider and you find a taken damage boost damage negation, then take it, as it's probably their best negation passive. Mutually so, if you're playing as Executor or Duchess and you find a successive attacks negate damage, it's arguably their best negation passive. Or if you have a Wilder using a Colossal weapon and you find melee attack power, consider tossing it his way instead, depending on what your own build is. Context matters. And your own judgment calls will vary given the scenario, which is fine. So long as you stick your neck out for your team every so often, if you find something for them and do your best to stay with the group, I think that goes a long way. But if you go running off on your own all the time and you're being very selfish, then don't be surprised if you get hit by the down into point down combo. I really wanted to give my own thoughts on this topic, as even now it's such a hot conversation of what makes a good teammate or a bad teammate, what you shouldn't do and what you should do during a run. And with my own personal experience and time in the game, these are some of the things that I think that people should or shouldn't do. So if you enjoyed this type of content from me and like to see more Nightreign videos, then please do consider subscribing and liking this video, as I do have more Nightreign content planned coming in the future, as well as some other stuff. So I hope to see you around in the next one. Adios.